HVAC 360 is brought to you today by High-Vis Vests. Not getting enough attention on the job site? Get a high-vis vest and you too can be the talk of the trades. Okay, well maybe not, but at least you're not getting run over by the new guy driving the scissor lift. Reflect on your safety today with high-vis vests. What's up here? Welcome back. Episode number 84. Matt Nelson here, your host for HVAC 360, where we help you go further and faster in the field of HVAC. These podcasts share stories, interview experts, and pile more onto your HVAC knowledge pile. If you're new here and you want additional information aside from this podcast, you can always go to my website at HVAC360.com and sign up for my list where I send out weekly nuggets of information for you to consume. So what's up for this week? Well, we're talking about training, and our guest lecturer today is out of the Big Apple. His name is Taurus McBride, and he is from Taurus Tech. He has been teaching in our industry for over 15 years. So whether you're new or old, getting the right training is going to position you to be ready when opportunity knocks next. And it's kind of an unwritten rule here at HVAC 360 that you always need to be learning. So please stick around after the interview where I'm going to share my 3 favorite takeaways from this conversation. So let's cut to the tape after a brief word from our sponsor. All right, today we're talking to Taurus McBride of Taurus Tech. How are you doing today, Taurus?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. So I guess, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the kind of training that you provide there at Taurus Tech?
Sure. Basically, I provide certification and license preparation for people who want to work in commercial, residential, industrial facilities management. My main background is HVAC, but the field is actually much broader than just the heating and the air conditioning system. So, basically, I train people in everything that has to do with facilities management, including the plumbing, the electrical, the fire safety, the HVAC. Anything that's in the building, I train people for.
So, Taurus, you've been an educator for a number of years. What can the right training mean to those who kind of go through it?
Sure. When I talk about training HVAC the right way, for me, it's kind of a personal thing. In New York City, when I got into the field, there were a couple of different directions that you could go. You could go to some of the larger for-profit schools like an Apex or a TCI. And if you went to some of those schools, you'd probably have to take out some type of financial aid, a loan or a grant or something, and go to school for 2 or 3 years. There was another route that I found about from a friend of mine, which was the building engineer route, where if there are shorter paths that you can go in order to do that, and the licenses that you would get would be at a different pay rate than just having an EPA license. And when I started working for the school that I attended, I would talk to many people who had gone that alternative route of going to some of those schools, which would cost $20,000 or $30,000. And then they would have to come to the school that I was working at and then have to pay, $4,000 or $5,000 more dollars. And it just frustrated me so much that, not to say that every for-profit school that teaches HVAC is bad or trying to hurt people. It's not what I believe. But what I do believe is nobody should sign up for a $20,000 or $30,000 course believing that they're going to get something and not being fully informed about what the options are in the market. So I don't want to just train people from the perspective of helping them pass a test. I want to make sure that people are qualified to advance in this industry, because there is no one certification or license that is going to give somebody a lifelong career or a six-figure career. There are a series of steps that people need to take in order to put them on the path to achieve those things. So that's what my objective is to educate people, not just about, the ins and outs of a trade, but actually, what is your individual career path, and what can we do to set you on that path in the best way possible?
So it basically going into HVAC, just, it's more about knowledge. It's more about, here are your options and where can you go from there. Now, I mean, what kind of options are you looking at to, the different options for the people that you teach? What are some of their options?
Certainly. So one of the things that happens when people go to some of the existing programs, in HVAC, there's actually a number of different areas in the field that people can work. And what's actually funny, I've actually been discovering a lot of this myself in the last couple of years, having my own training organization. When I used to teach people would come to my organization and I would basically say, we're going to do this course, and I help people get their license, and then they would leave, and then I would say, good luck with your life. And what I would discover after a number of years is that people were having difficulty, pursuing these careers because there were a number of other licenses they needed, and there were other skills that they needed. So if somebody's going to school for a year, 2 years, 3 years, are they really developing the skills that are going to allow them to do that particular job? What I mean by that is, okay, if I take a course and I learn how to braise once upon a time, do I really know how to do that? Or did I do it like 6 months or a year ago?
Right. So there is, and especially, is it something that you're going to use every day? I mean, these are some of the skills that, you really have to kind of build on, and if you're brazing, there's certain techniques. So it's more about just, going through once and learning about it. You got to kind of, get that, you might not necessarily do that on a daily basis.
You're actually not, actually most people rarely. The funny thing is, most people in most installations, the problems you'll see are probably electrical. Most people don't recover, charge, evacuate. They don't constantly do that stuff. So the need for brazing is infrequent. But then when it does occur, if you haven't done it for a while, even on your job, do you really have that skill? I was recently in a situation where I was with a professional who had been doing it for 20, 30 years. And, he was brazing in a four-way valve and a heat pump, ended up messing up the TV. So, these are complicated things that people need to practice. And currently from what I've seen, at least in New York City, there's no mechanism by which somebody can just go and practice skills. You can go to a school and, go for several years, but there's no like club or something where somebody can just go and practice skills. And in addition to doing my certification training, that's what I wanted to also bring to the arena, was just, having places where people can go to practice skills and get access to the different things that you may not see even, in your job or at a school, because this industry is so broad, and even just the equipment is so broad and the scope is so wide. People don't see it. They're unaware of it. When they try to get the jobs, they're even if you worked as an engineer or service tech for 20, 30 years, you have not seen everything. So, how do people acquire that knowledge? That's really what I'm passionate about, is having a mechanism, whether it's through my online classes, my online videos, my online resources, but in addition to that, having the HVAC camps where people can come, get their hands dirty, get their hands on the equipment. And we're actually going to be setting it up, hopefully throughout the country, hopefully on a reoccurring basis every week, hopefully several times a week, several locations where people can just go and get their hands on equipment.
So, once somebody goes through a training program, how long do you think it takes to become, for that training program to really become outdated? How long should they be, when people are looking at continual education, how often should they be they looking at that?
Well, that's a question that's actually much bigger than just HVAC in general. Unfortunately, we have a we have a for-profit education system where, you're being told that something is valuable by the person that's selling it to you. So you can go and take a philosophy course with somebody and say, hey, this is going to change your life. But how do you actually know that that's the real case? And it becomes problematic in a field like HVAC because there are actually several skills that you need to have, several basic skills and fundamental knowledge that you need to have. But then you need to put that stuff into practice. So when a person goes into a regular course, and I've seen several of these courses, I've had several students who have taken these courses, you get the whole story and they give you the tour of the campus, and it's very impressive at the time, but is it going to be relevant to the actual job market? And for me, being that I work on both sides of the aisle, I work with people getting into the industry, and then I work with people in the industry. I work with property managers, service people. I kind of have a broader understanding of the total industry. So, in terms of going to a course, what I would suggest for schools is have a list of former customers, of former students that you can refer to prospective students to speak to and hopefully get an unbiased opinion. Not just the, few people who like you, like people. A school should be able to say, and this is something I'd be perfectly willing to do, give out a list of phone numbers of former students and say, hey, you can go or contact students and say, hey, this person wants information. Would you feel comfortable contacting them to talk about the school? Because outside of that, it's kind of like when people go online to buy a product and they look at other people's reviews, and that's kind of that's playing a big part in the way that people buy products. I think it needs to be something similar for schools. I think everybody needs to step up their game to make sure I'm not just taking this person's money just because this is how I make a living. Like, no, I need to try to add value to help people.
Right. You're looking for that social proof, whether it be through, like you said, references or referrals or somebody else that they can talk to kind of peer to peer outside of the person teaching the course.
Yes. And, for me, I actually have a network of my former students that I try to keep in contact with each other. Just in New York City, the area that I specifically teach for building engineering, these are six-figure jobs. So it's a very competitive landscape, and it could take somebody 6 months to a year or more to actually get one of these jobs. And it is a very frustrating and lonely process. So I want to keep my former students engaged with each other, because over that course of time, you're going to forget everything that you actually know if you're not actually doing the job on a daily basis. I think networking in this industry, has to become more and more important. Like, one of the things I do is network on like LinkedIn. That's how we came into contact with each other. There has to be something specific to this industry though, where, we're sharing that common language and we're supporting each other, because to me, it's the lack of understanding of this industry that's really harming the industry, where if somebody is looking to enter the industry, they don't know where to start. If somebody's looking for, a solution on their particular job, there's nobody to reach out to. If somebody's looking to add, some new equipment to their facility, how do you know it's going to benefit your facility if you haven't seen it in operation in another facility? So we need to do a much better job networking in this industry.
So besides networking, what other soft skills are you recommend to, people entering the industry, young people entering the industry, to really be able to, get their portfolio of skills up to par?
Sure. One of the things that I'm trying to do is actually take students into the real world. I think there's a difference between performing in a classroom and performing on an actual job where there's actual real circumstances on the line. In terms of skills, it's not just, one of the things about working, especially for young people, that young people need to learn is communication skills. So it's not just, I can do this job and I can do the job okay. You have to be able to communicate with people, because even if I'm going to troubleshoot a particular job, You need to be able to identify what the problem is, or where the problem is coming from, or what it is related to, so that you're not wasting time. You also have to be able to deal with people who are going to be frustrated, who are not going to talk to you politely all the time. And with young people, especially nowadays, there's, where young people are very quick to lash out to people they feel are disrespecting them, because we separate in this country. We separate learning from working. We say, okay, for this period of time, you're going to school and you're just supposed to be learning. And, oh, you fail, like it's not a big deal. No. Going to school is actually a job. It just happens to be your job at that period of time. But our young people don't have that view of it. So, they maintain this childish perspective that, hey, I can mess around and play around. Well, all that changes when you go to work. So when you go to that work environment, and it is a serious environment, you have to watch the way you look, the way you speak, and the way you behave. Are you going to be prepared to do that? So what I'm hoping I can help start and get other people to follow along is changing our apprenticeship system in this country. The way apprentices typically work is kind of like a 3-4 year length of time. I think that's way too long. I think we need to have like more of an Uber style model where people can accompany professionals on job sites to get some of these work skills. I think it will benefit the professional. I think it will benefit the student, certainly. But in terms of, because people tend to look at it like, oh, I don't want to take this person who doesn't know anything out into the field. That's fine, but how are you going to identify the next person that you're going to hire? Because if all you do is, post an ad online saying, okay, I want to hire this person, how do you know when that person comes in what they actually know, what they've actually seen, what they've actually done? So to me, we need to create a better connected relationship between our educational providers and our employment services.
Oh, absolutely. No, I totally agree. So I guess what is the what's up? What's next for Taurus Tech? What are some of the new things that you got going on?
Sure. I'm going to be seeking accreditation to provide certification training online for different locales throughout the country. I'm working with several government organizations to create programs for different states. So hopefully, along with that, it'll run the gamut, beyond just HVAC in terms of heating and air conditioning, but also fire safety and plumbing, electrical, pretty much everything to do with facilities management. But the thing I'm really, really excited about is the HVAC camps. I want to use the HVAC camps as a community classroom where, instead of relying upon the traditional learning environments, we'll take advantage of the facilities we have in the communities, the churches, the schools, the recreational centers, and whatever there is. Any place that you have a space and you have people, there's an opportunity to teach something. And HVAC is a skill that it encompasses so much. You can show somebody, if you open up an air conditioner and show somebody what's inside of that thing, you're teaching them so much about the world, from, thermodynamics and electricity and mechanics and all these different things. And even if they don't end up pursuing a career in HVAC, teaching them a little bit of understanding about all these different things can put them on the path to achieve, who knows what in a different arena. So that's really why I'm so excited about HVAC, because HVAC is not one specific thing. It's a lot of different things wrapped up in one. That if you have people, you have a need to control the environment. So that's really what I'm excited about right now.
Fantastic. So if somebody wanted to learn more about HVAC camps now, and you're obviously you've gotten some pilot programs going, or are you looking for people to reach out and help you with these HVAC camps?
Absolutely. We're actually starting a new one today in Queens in New York, and I've had several people reach out to me saying they want to do HVAC camps nationwide, and that's my goal. What the way I envision myself, because I don't want to come off like I'm an expert on everything. If anything, me doing this stuff now is allowing me to learn more. While I've been teaching almost 15 years, and I realized recently that being stuck in a classroom stunted my own growth. I am very good at the things I've been exposed to, but there's so much beyond that I haven't been exposed to, and I really wanted to put myself into that environment where I can be learning again. So I'm always reaching out to other people. Please feel free to contact me. You can go to the HVAC Tutor website, or send me an email, Taurus@HVACtutor, that's TAURIS, at HVACtutor.com. I want to have HVAC camps nationwide. When I got my certification to be an EPA proctor, I discovered that for the 608 technician, there's no age restriction to get a 608 technician certification. That is the basic requirement to work in this field. So theoretically, you can take a teenager and have them get their EPA certification, and as long as they're allowed to work, they can go out in the field and get some real world work skills. So when I hear people complaining about unemployment, complaining about teenage unemployment, complaining about the next generation, to me, this would be the perfect opportunity for us to create something that could benefit and not just young people. I don't want to make it seem like it's just about teenagers. To me, at this service we're going to start today, we're going to have people of all ages. I want to have people of all ages learning this subject matter, because, again, with this field is everywhere, and it will always be necessary, and there will always be jobs, and I don't care if they come out with self-driving cars tomorrow, they're not going to have AI or robotic service technicians. There will always be a need for humans to work in this industry, and we are short literally hundreds of thousands of skilled tradespeople in this country. So something has to happen, and it has to happen right now. And if I can be an inspiration or a facilitator or whatever to get other people to want to come on this journey with me, I'll feel free to invite everybody right now. Please contact me and let's get this going.
Right, and just like you said, it's not about, hey, I'm fixing residential furnaces. It's like you can grow to fix commercial equipment, large commercial equipment. You could go. I mean, there's so many industries out there that people just aren't aware of, just because it's heating and cooling, but it's so vast. It's it's working for a manufacturer. It's learning how to program for temperature controls. There's so many different skills and job opportunities out there that people can, grow into, and again, like you said, these are not, if you're highly competitive and you get your skills, at the top of their game, it's not a minimum wage kind of occupation.
Let me tell you, I have friends who work in this industry who make $250,000 a year. It's and these people don't work very hard. That's the crazy thing about it. This industry is one in which you can grow. You can continue to grow in your career and your earning potential, and it only gets broader and broader, because what it comes down to is we have other industries which rely upon environmental control. So what I don't think people really understand, you say HVAC and people think an air conditioner or hot water heater or something. The internet would not exist without 24/7, 365 temperature and humidity control. The internet is they use the cloud. The internet is actually a bunch of computers in data centers that need to have their climate controlled 24/7, and these things are vast. Our cell phones. Each one of our cell phone towers has basically an HVAC unit to control temperature and humidity to make sure that it continues to work. So all of these new technologies that we are relying upon, we just think that they exist out there and it's all magical. No, it's all practical. And somebody is servicing that equipment. Somebody's designing that equipment. And somebody's designing the next piece of equipment. And it's always changing. And that's what frustrates me so much. The way that this stuff is taught is like it's in the Stone Age. There are pieces of equipment that I've taught that you would find in a museum. And we're not introducing people to the newer technologies that are taking. And right now, listen, with the EPA changeover of refrigerants, you're going to see a changeover of probably 75% of the equipment that exists in the industry within the next 5 to 10 years. That is a tremendous amount of jobs that are going to be available. But people need to know about it.
Absolutely. It's crazy. But, and there you just have to break through the fear of, hey, is it right for me? You have to experience it. You have to get out there, and the sooner that you do that, the better. If you do it at a younger age, it's easier than an older age. But even if you're doing something and you're like, you know what, I can't handle this anymore, there are other options out there that aren't difficult. This isn't rocket science, and it's definitely achievable.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because when I started doing my online course, I realized I wanted to have hands-on components to it. That I wouldn't be able to have people around the country come to me directly, but you know what? Everybody literally has the equipment in their home. Everybody, like I create assignments where a person can take their air conditioner at home, and you can take a reading on your evaporator and your condenser. You can take an electrical reading. All of this stuff surrounds us, but aside from telling a child not to stick a fork in an outlet, we really should be introducing people to it. So to say that this is what is taking place, and as soon when you have a mind which discovers something new, it literally opens up the world to them to say, you know what, this is just a little piece of the puzzle, and it puts you, because this is what happened to me. It puts you on a path where you want to learn more, because if you feel like you can constantly learn more, then we wouldn't have the type of insecurity that we have in this country right now as it relates to jobs. And you have people who are like the coal miners. The coal miners saying, well, we don't want to lose our jobs. It's because they feel like they won't get another job. And that's what we have to change in this country. We have to be able to have people say, you know what, industries come and go. However, as human beings, we are always able to adapt ourselves to new circumstances to find new ways to provide for ourselves. And if we can convince people of that, there'll be less insecurity and less anger and less, consternation that we have today.
Fantastic. Well, Torres, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Thanks again to Torres McBride from Torres Tech for taking the time to chat with us. Check out the show notes for links to any of the things that we've mentioned during the interview. You can find that at the show notes, that is, at HVAC360.com/84. So I make that nice and easy for you to find and remember. As promised, here's my highlights from this interview. All right, step number 1. To get further on your career path, you need skills and you may need certificates. Now, it's important, and I like what Torres had to say about this, but don't be surprised about additional things that you may need, and certainly don't let yourself get in the position where you're financially burdened by the certifications that you get. Some of them are required, but some training is more expensive than it actually needs to be. So the best way to do this is really find a mentor to help you navigate this educational landscape. Number 2, just because you learn something doesn't mean that you don't need to practice it. Always keep sharp. I mean, this goes from technicians to engineers. We don't do everything that we know on a daily basis. We'll do it once in 1 month, and then we'll do it again in another month. And it's one of those things that you really need to keep sharp on. So look for ways to be able to train or to have your own HVAC camp in your own life. All right, number 3, educational products in schools should probably have, if they don't already, have a list of references that you can check to get that social proof from other people. So it's not even a bad idea. Obviously, when you go interview people, you have a list of references as well, and your business should have a list of references that people can call and contact to get that social proof. I mean, our world today, our words still mean something, so we need to be able to communicate that through other people. The important thing is, if you're going to pick references, whether it be for a job or whether it be for your business, make sure that you get real advocates on your side. Not just everybody can be a good reference to you, because there's a difference between just being a reference and having a good reference or a great reference. If you have somebody that's like, this person can do no wrong, this firm can do no wrong, that's the kind of person that you want to have speaking on your behalf as a reference, because that can really give that emotional connection with the person receiving the reference. So that's step number 3. Number 4, and I really like this, it's from what he said, is learn to relate to difficult people. Learn that as a skill to be able to negotiate and to deal with difficult people. It kind of struck a chord with me, because my son has a teacher that he doesn't particularly like. That's kind of difficult, and I'm like, you know what? Use this as a growing opportunity. You have to succeed despite your relationship with this person. Try to be extra nice. Try to change the relationship, or try to get past it. But it's going to be like that in real life. And it's funny, because difficult people, it's not that that's a permanent situation. Difficult people might be, hey, somebody had a bad day and they're kind of hard to deal with, or somebody's yelling because they're just going through some tough times. It doesn't always have to be a constantly negative person, even though I know those people are out there. So, all right, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. If you know anybody that is looking to change jobs or looking to get into this industry, maybe share this episode with them. It'll increase your connection with them, and who knows, maybe it'll save them a couple $1,000s in a decision that, in a better decision that they can make. Also, as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you can do one thing for me, subscribe to my list if you haven't already. That's at HVAC360.com for more trick-or-treats in the form of weekly updates. And if you are so moved to do anything else aside from that, I'd love it if you would consider leaving me a rating on iTunes. That's a wrap for this episode of HVAC 360. I'm Matt Nelson, helping you go further faster in the field of HVAC. And as always, know what you build and share what you know.